Hey, third graders. Just want you to know we've missed you all so much. I hope to see you all face to face very soon. But until then, we're going to do this distance learning. So this is kind of a different way of doing school, but this is how we're going to be doing it until the end of the year. So I will present a video and every day, and I'll go through all your work and kind of show you what's on that work and what you need to do. Everything's going to be review, so it will all be things that we've done in class already, but I will remind you of some things on these videos to help you. If you have questions or you can't figure something out, just mark it or write yourself a note, and then when we talk on the phone once a week or do our conference call, I will be able to help you with that. So I'm going to start today. Today is Monday, April 6th, 2020. So every day I'm going to start with math. So today's math lesson is looks like this. So this is all review, and this is kind of what your math lessons are going to be looking like. There are 10 questions on the front and 10 on the back. So it's a combination of a lot of things. This one has multiplication, it has division, it has a clock, wants you to tell what time it is. It has a graph, and you're going to look at that graph to answer those 3 questions that go with it. So that's kind of what that's going to look like. Remember, I went off my screen. There we go. So remember that division is the opposite of multiplication. So if you look at this division problem, it's 81 divided by 9. So I think to myself, what times 9 equals 81? So I kind of work backwards and use multiplication to figure out my division. Number 7 is also a division problem. It just looks different than the number 5, but it's still the same thing. So on this one, we have 2 divided by 19. So what times 2 equals 19? Well, nothing does. So I have to get as close to 19 as I can possibly get without going over. And then I take whatever's left over and I write it over here. It's a remainder. It's what's remaining. So I think 2 times what is as close to 19 as I can get without going over. And then I write what I have left over up there at the top with a little r. We have a graph here, favorite kinds of desserts. And then we have 3 questions that go with that graph. So that's your front side. Your back side, again, is very, very similar. So we have a word problem that deals with money, multiplication, a 3-digit subtraction problem. Remember, if your top number is smaller than your bottom number, you have to borrow. So you have to go next door and get 10 more. So then my 1 becomes an 11 and my 7 becomes a 6. And then I go down to this. This is something we haven't really talked about. It talks about volume. So volume is how much can something hold? Okay, so this is, to solve it, I have to multiply. I multiply all my sides together. So I have 3, 2, 2. So I'm going to multiply those 3 sides together. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 3, and that gives me my volume. I then have more division, addition, subtraction, some rounding down there at the bottom. So let's talk about rounding again. When we're rounding to the nearest 100, we have to look at our tens place to figure out what happens to our hundreds place. So if the number in our tens place is 5 or more, so that'd be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then our hundreds place goes up by 1. If our tens place is anything less than 5, so 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0, then our hundreds place stays the same. Oftentimes we want to make that hundreds place go down, but it doesn't. It stays the same. So 5 and above, our hundreds place goes up. 4 and below, our hundreds place stays the same. So that's your math lesson for today. Reading, you're going to have a story, a full-page story. It's called Lemonade Stand. So it looks like this. And then on the back side, it wants you to put the events of the story in order. Okay, numbering them 1 through 10. So the first thing that happened in the story, you're going to write a 1 beside that on the line. Okay, so let's talk about sequencing for a minute. So sequencing is the order in which things happen, the order of events or the steps in a process. So if I look at my screen here, I have sequence. Sequence is the order of events or steps in a process. So the example is, what do you do in the morning? So the first thing you do is get up. Then you eat breakfast. Finally, you get dressed. Okay, so if these events aren't in that order, it won't make any sense. Like, you can't eat breakfast before you get up, right? So it is the order in which things happen. So when we are looking at how we determine, we think about those key words, those time order words. And I know you've heard me say that before, time order words. So your time order words are first, next, then, finally. Sometimes it may be dates. If you're putting things in order by dates, then your dates are going to tell you the order in which things happen. So I'm going to go back to my screen here and show you your worksheet. So you're going to put those events of the day in order. And then at the bottom of your page, you have a writing that you need to do. And so it says make sure that you include all the important information like who, what, where, when, why, and how much. So you're making an advertisement. So that might be a little bit fun to do. Use your imagination. So when I'm trying to put those events in order, I'm going to go back to my worksheet and I'm going to find those events and I'm going to underline them and number them. Then I will easily be able to go back to the backside and put them in order. So that is what your reading lesson is today. Your language is dealing with prefixes and suffixes. Okay, so I know we've talked about prefixes and suffixes before. So your page looks like this. It says add a prefix or suffix to complete each word in the sentences. Okay, so if I look at the first sentence, I have a blank and then the word fill. So I've got to add either a prefix or a suffix to that. Well, since my blank is before my base word fill, then it's going to be a prefix. Prefixes come before. Suffixes go at the end. So I should say prefixes go at the beginning, suffixes go at the end. So you have your base word, you put one of these 3 prefixes at the beginning, and it changes the meaning of the word. So if I use the example tie, tie is my base word, okay? Then I can add a prefix to the beginning. I can say re-tie. So my prefix is re, my base word is tie. Well, when I add re to it, that means to do again. So if my shoe comes untied, which means it's not tied, so it means the opposite of tie, then I have to re-tie it, which means I have to tie it again. Okay, so that's what you're doing on this first part. On the bottom part, you are going to write a sentence using those 4 words. Make sure sentences begin with a capital letter and end with an end mark. Okay, the back side of that, you have a story. And it is wanting you to circle the compound words, underline all the abbreviations, and draw a box around the contractions. So let's talk about what those 3 words mean. So a compound word. A compound word is when you have 2 words that you mash together and it makes one word. So if I use the word dog, that's a word. And then if I say the word house, that's also a word. But then I can put those together and I have the word doghouse. That is a compound word. 2 words that you squeeze together to make one word. Okay, the next one is abbreviations. So an abbreviation is a shortened form of a word. So like my name is Mrs. Harper. So Mrs., capital M-R-S, period, is an abbreviation for the word Mrs. Okay, or doctor. That's one we see very often. So doctor is actually spelled D-O-C-T-O-R, doctor. But we often abbreviate that. We shorten it to DR, period. It's important to know abbreviations start with a capital letter and have a period at the end. So doctor, capital D-R, period. That's an abbreviation. And the last one is contractions. So contractions are where we take two words, not like a compound word, but we take two words and we take some letters out and add an apostrophe in, and it makes a new word. So if we have the words cannot, no, you cannot go to the movies. Okay, I can take the word can and not, put them together, and make the word can't. So now I have, instead of cannot, I have can, C-A-N, cannot, I have can, C-A-N, and then I take that word not and take some letters out and add an apostrophe in their place, and I have can't, C-A-N apostrophe T. So that is contraction. So that's what you're looking for on that worksheet. Okay, you're also going to be getting a little half page. I put them all on one big piece of paper, front and back, but you will actually only be doing a little piece of that every day. So this is, again, a review of a lot of different things that we've done. So today's, you have 2 lines going across, and you're supposed to put them in, or which one comes first, in alphabetical order. So think about when you're putting something in alphabetical order, you look at the first letter. Well, the first letter is all the same. So then I go to the second. And if I have to, I go on to the third. So you're going to circle or underline the word that comes first in alphabetical order. Your next question asks about guide words. So think about at the top of a dictionary page, you have the first word on the page and the last word on the page. Okay, those are your guide words, and they say those at the top. Well, on this, it wants to know what words would go between rain and road. So you have 4 choices. So alphabetically, which one of these 4 words would go between them? Okay, and then you have 2 sentences to correct. This is exactly like what you've been doing in class on the board. So you have to find the mistakes in those sentences and then rewrite the sentences correctly on the lines. So exactly like what you've been doing in class. Then I'm going to give you also a cursive page. So these for this week, again, they're all on one page, but just do the page for the day. So today's Monday, you're only going to do the Monday section. So these are all famous quotes. So today's quote says, "Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. 1, if by land, and 2, if by sea." So you're going to take that quote and then write it down here on the lines in cursive the best you possibly can. So that is your language for today. The last thing you have in your packet is a Scholastic News. So you are getting today this Scholastic News. This is the first story we're going to look at. This Dog Saves Lives. It's about the wildfires in Australia. So I will tell you too, if you have internet access, you can go to this website, scholastic.com/SN3, and then it's going to ask you for our password. Okay, so our classroom password is this, CrownDig59. So if you go to that website and put in that password, then it's going to give you the same access that we have in the classroom. So you can see the magazines, you have the read aloud option, it has videos that go with it, there's some games. So you have that. If you have internet access, you have you have the capability to do those things. So today, you're going to read just this first story, which is A Furry Hero, okay? And it is, again, about the wildfires in Australia, and it's about a dog coming to the rescue. So you're going to read this story, okay? And then you have a sorting page to do. So it looks like this. So it talks about main idea and key details. So the main idea, what is the story mostly about? And then details are everything that goes with that. So if you notice down here at the bottom, you have 6 sentences, okay? One of them is the main idea. So it's going to go up here. You're going to cut it out and glue it where it says main idea. Then you have 3 key details. So you're going to find 3 things that go with that main idea that help support that main idea. And then you have 6 of them. So that tells me that 2 of them you're not going to use. Okay, so that is your, that's what you're going to do with that Scholastic News today. So those are all your lessons for today. Again, if you have trouble or have questions, just save them. And when I talk to you later in the week, I will be glad to help you with those questions. So have a great day, and I will see you again tomorrow.